Whenever I see a child who has been caught up in war, who has been horribly bloodied, I always feel affected by that. I think that's very important. I think they can be co-opted by political regimes to perpetuate their ideology, I suppose. They can be used for political ends. If enough people see it, if it's a strong enough message, you can lead your audience. You need to be very critical. People now don't have that critical approach. We are bombarded with so many that it's easy just to accept them as they are. Fundamentally, I think they can't be trusted, and you should be very critical.
It's absolutely impossible to control or regulate. It's just not possible. Previously, it could be restricted. It was controlled to a certain extent. But now it's a democratic platform, which means it all collapses together. There are no levels, which is good, which is bad. It's difficult to determine that. Because of the bombardment, I don't feel I have a reaction to them. I'm kind of anaesthetised. Sometimes I have a full emotional reaction. I might say, oh my God, that's so horrible, but because I see so many of them, there's no way I can relate to those people anymore. There's a polarisation between the West and the Middle East. The natives are treated differently depending on who you are, which makes more sense. There's just that bias, of course. It's quite notable, that difference. I just don't think there's that much of an emotional reaction there. I mean, you form attachments to people through an understanding of their life stories.
It reminds me that I'm part of a collective humanity that perpetrates such evil, and that really worries me. It worries me that it happens in certain places and that it could happen again. I didn't really care, but since I got older, I do. And since I moved away from my home, from my family, I really care. I don't think anything is truly democratic. No, it depends on your ability. It's a skill level. But nah, I don't think anything is ever truly democratic.
As far as the dissemination, it's not as if there's a committee which gathers together to determine its eventual use. It's dictatorial in that once you've done it, you have the power to do as you see fit. You can impose yourself upon it. We're playing an informative role, providing information to those that would not have the same access. People are paid to save lives. I don't see a problem with what we're doing. You can't trust them. The way they present their stories means that they can exploit them too. It's a social thing to look at something unknown. I'm not sure how I look at the political because it's politicised. I tend not to dwell too much. If you expose yourself to the places where they are, then you're going to be inundated. Go outside of cities. Get more into the generic parts, not the city centre. If you move to the outskirts, the countryside, then you're not going to be attacked. I'm fairly capable of analysing and interpreting things, if need be. I'm sceptical enough not to take things at face value. You can show somebody suffering. As soon as you show it to somebody from the opposing side, then you're doing something else. You're either saying, you have to stop this, or this is working. You can take someone and say, You have to do something about this now. It can be used as blackmail. I have the evidence to prove it. It's a weapon. It means somebody has lost their privacy and they have been used.
You can't not look at them. They are everywhere. On an everyday basis, I look to locate myself in the world, to understand things, or to see what's happening in different places, to be amused or to be in awe. That is the language that I work in, and to try and understand things differently. I think there's much less choice as to whether one is bombarded. Personally, I choose to bombard myself through what I do, but there are times when it's uncontrollable. I think sometimes it can be quite important or quite significant, a task which requires a lot of thought. Equally, sometimes it can be a thoughtless process, as one can do it with such ease. It depends on the situation, the subject, and what one intends to do with the results. It can be as simple as point and shoot, but the results can be surprisingly monumental for a moment charged with such absent-mindedness.